Are you guys ready for a very special story today? Yes. Do you want to know why it's special? It is special because it's called learning to be dependable, and that's something we all need to learn to do. How many of you, when you grow up, want a really important job? Yes. And to grow up to be a person who does a lot of things to help others? We all want to do that, don't we? Well, pay close attention to our story, because today we are going to discover the secret of being an important person to both God and man. Does that sound exciting?
Yes! Tell us the story!
The Bible tells us about a boy named Joseph who lived in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was a very responsible boy. He always did what his parents asked him to do. Even little things like running errands, they knew they could always count on Joseph. Joseph came from a great big family with lots of brothers, but his brothers were jealous of him because he was his dad's favorite. One day, Joseph's father sent him on an errand. His older brothers were away from home, and their father wanted Joseph to go and find out if they were okay. But when his brothers saw him approaching, they decided to kill him.
Look out, Joseph! Run!
Hello, brothers.
His brothers grabbed him and threw him into an empty pit while they figured out the best way to kill him. Just then, a caravan passed by on its way to Egypt. That gave them an idea. Why not make some money? So they sold their brother as a slave for 20 pieces of silver. When the caravan reached Egypt, Joseph was sold again to a man named Potiphar. Potiphar gave him lots of hard jobs to do.
But Joseph never complained!
He worked hard to show that he was a dependable person, someone who could be trusted to get things done. And Potiphar noticed it. No matter how small the job he gave him to do, he found that he could always count on Joseph. He was dependable. Soon, he started giving him more responsibility.
We need grain, sir. How much shall I pay?
I don't know. Whatever you think is right.
I'll need money.
Take whatever you need.
Potiphar, you trust this Hebrew too much.
Nonsense. For once, my household is running smoothly. Pharaoh is waiting. Hire new men for the stables, Joseph. We'll pay them the higher wage you suggested.
But Potiphar's wife started giving Joseph the eye.
She was bad news!
That's for sure. And when Joseph ignored her, she made up a story that he had attacked her, and her husband believed her.
Joseph got thrown into prison!
Potiphar was very angry with him.
I am innocent.
The devil was never more guilty. Bread and water only. Beat him if he disobeys.
I will be freed, Potiphar, whether by your hands or by God's.
But even in prison, God was with Joseph and helped him and gave him favor with the head jail keeper. Soon he realized that he could depend on Joseph to get things done, and he put him in charge of all the other prisoners. He found that Joseph was fair to everyone. He never complained about things or blamed God for his troubles. You see, Joseph wasn't working just to please his boss. He wanted to please God. That was most important to him. Many years passed, and then one night Pharaoh had a bad dream.
It was a nightmare.
Pharaoh, Shire, are you all right? Pharaoh?
Send for the wise men and the magicians.
But the wise man couldn't give the king an answer.
The message of the sticks is clear.
What do they say?
You shall die.
What? When?
On this, the magic sticks are not so clear. Could be 70 years, could be 60, could be an hour.
Pharaoh was fed up with his wise men.
Send for Joseph.
That's exactly what Pharaoh did. And you know what? Joseph explained the meaning of his dream. He told him there would be 7 years of plenty in Egypt, followed by 7 years of famine. When he heard that, he said,
7 years of famine. 7 years. We are doomed. All things are possible with God.
Pharaoh realized that he would need a very special person to get Egypt out of its crisis, or everyone would starve.
Give Joseph the job.
The next day, the king called all of his people together to make a big announcement.
And I ask you, my people, where else shall we find a man like this? A man who possesses the Spirit of God. Joseph of Canaan, though once a slave and servant to this kingdom, I make you now ruler over all the land of Egypt. As Pharaoh, only I shall be greater than you.
Since Joseph had been faithful in doing small things, God promoted him a great big job where he could help lots of people. You know what Jesus said? He said that if you're faithful in little things,
Then he'll give you big things to do.
that's why it's so important for you to be dependable when your parents or teachers ask you to do things. Because if you're faithful in little things, then God has something in store for you that's so big. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So remember, it's so important to please God and your parents or teachers so you can be dependable to both God and man.